Hi, it's Leslie at Tennessee, and today we're going to be talking about making soil blocks without a soil blocker. So I spent my morning out in the garden, pulling out spent tomato plants and picking peppers and hoping more peppers would come on in the fall. But my mind was all about my fall crops. I love gardening in the fall much more than gardening in the summer. There's less insect pests, there's less heat. It's just a gentler season for growing, I think. And I like the winter crops very much. Kale and cabbage and beets and carrots, pak choy. Just a nice variety of things that you can grow and harvest throughout the cooler seasons. So I'm thinking about all of this and itching to put some of these crops in. But here in Tennessee, we still have a little time of some pretty intense heat. And I know that I'm going to need to get these seeds germinating in cooler weather, which means inside under lights. I have tried starting carrots and beets inside in traditional flats before, but I didn't have a whole lot of success with that. And I'm not sure if it was because I was disturbing the roots when I transplanted them, so I've done a little homework on it and started thinking soil blocks. I don't have a soil blocker, and so I needed to come up with a creative idea on what to do. I think I've got it. Now, you can go online and find various recipes for what you should be putting in your soil block. You need things that's going to hold together. So I found a recipe by Eliot Coleman, my favorite winter grower, and scaled it down to a home grower's guide, seeing as he's a commercial grower. And here's what I came up with. 5 quarts of peat, 4 teaspoons of lime, 4 quarts of coarse sand or perlite, 1/2 cup of a complete fertilizer, 2 quarts of soil, and 4 quarts of compost, well composted compost. Now, I had a mix, a growing mix already that was peat, perlite, and fertilizer. So I did away with those things, although it didn't have enough perlite in it, so I added a little bit of perlite to it, and then I added the other ingredients that were in here. If I was going to do this again, I think I would not use the pre-mixed mix because it's got little chunks of bark in it and things like that, which I don't like. So I would go ahead and just use the peat like Eliot Coleman says to use, or you could use coconut coir, I believe would work just fine. Now for the blocker itself, I have a plastic drinking cup. This is probably a 3-ounce cup. And I took the cup and just sawed off the base with a serrated paring knife. I thought that I would need something to push the block out with, but I found that the shape of the cup lends itself to pushing that out quite easily. So let's go ahead and mix up a little bit of this. I've been working on this for a little while, but we'll mix up a fresh batch. So I'm going to use 3 of the mix. And 1 water. Whoops. And then we're just going to go ahead and mix this all up, make it even. If you see any big things in it, you can probably just take that out. But if you follow the mix using peat or coconut coir instead, you shouldn't have this problem. And it is fairly wet, as you can see. All right. So now I have my inexpensive soil blocker ready to roll here. And I'm putting it the fat side up, or the broad side up. I'm just going to pack that in there. And it should squish. You should see moisture squishing out of the bottom. It should be that wet, and maybe a little out on the top here. And then on the top, I'm just going to go ahead and make a little dimple. Now for carrots and beets, you want to be about 1/4 to 1/2 inch deep. I'm packing it a little tighter, and I've got that right there. And then I'm just going to go ahead and just take it right out of the block. Just like that. They say the best way to water these is from the bottom. So I have a slotted tray here inside a non-slotted tray, and I can add water to the bottom tray and then put this in and let it soak up some of the water. Seeing as I'm going to be doing this inside, I may spray mist them and see how that works. This is all a grand experiment, so I'm thinking they're not going to dry out very much without being in direct, intense sun or breezes. So I'll have to play with that a little bit, and I guess you can too. That's the fun of gardening, right? You try something new. Now the mix is pretty dense. I'm thinking what I'm going to do after I put the seeds in this is to sprinkle a thin layer of fine vermiculate on top and just spray mist it with a spray bottle. But you could also use something like Pro Mix. You could use some Pro Mix. That you can see how light and fluffy that is, and then you could go ahead and spray mist that with a spray bottle if you wanted to get it moist. So by doing it this way, you're not going to disturb the roots the same as when you pull them out of a traditional growing flat. I hope this works for you. I hope it works for me. Thanks for watching. And if you try this and you have some other tips or tricks that you want to share, please put them in the comments below. God bless you, and remember, you are created to live in the garden.